Hello, everyone. This is Rob Golfi with RE/MAX, the Golfi Team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara edition with host Stephanie Vivier, filling in for Tim Dennis.
Hey, Rob. It's so good to chat with you again.
Yeah, you too. I'm glad to have you on here. We don't want Tim to go too many vacations, but I'm kind of enjoying chatting with you. So this is good.
That's right. We do miss him, but I got to tell you, Rob, after our last show together, I was just, pretending I was the real estate expert. I was spouting out all the information you gave me, telling them about make sure you get the clean house, make sure you get the cobwebs out if you're trying to sell your house, when's the right time to sell, when's the right time to buy. It was extremely awesome for my social conversations.
Nice. So what's been happening in real estate this past week, and also what's happened in July? So we got some of the stat numbers in July. So just to give you an idea, in July, the average days it took to sell a home in July 2023 was 32 days compared to 31 days in July 2022. Now, we know that last year, starting from April all the way down to December, there was a decline in real estate values because it was adjusting itself. So we're getting close. So now we can see the price gap compared to 2022 is getting smaller, with a 6.6% decrease in price in July 2023. So compared to last July 2022. Now, so sales and listings month over month, there were very few sales and listings in July 2023 than in June of 2023, but not by a high margin. This is typical to see in July because it's the first full month of summer vacation, and Niagara real estate market is in good shape. Now, so what I've been seeing in the market in Niagara, I think we hit a ceiling at some time earlier this year, and it's still readjusting itself. Now, Niagara has gotten very expensive, especially in the last 3-4 years, just because there's a big exodus of people coming from the GTA and moving to Niagara, especially Niagara Falls. And so what's been happening is, let's just give you a thing. I think you might have this. In March of this year, the average sale price was $629,000. Sorry, not average, benchmark price. The benchmark price was $629,500. Then it spikes in April to $665,000, and then it drops again to $657,000 in May, and then it spikes in June at $662,000, and then July it drops to $647,000. So it's hovering. It's bouncing up and down a little bit. In the last 4 or 5 months, just not sure what it is. It's probably hit a ceiling, and the market's not warranting to go any higher, a higher point. Now, in the Hamilton area, it's slowly climbing. The median price right now, or the benchmark price for July, was $772,000. So, but Hamilton just is growing. It's in bits and pieces, not major jumps, because again, you only can afford so much right now. So, but what's happening is a lot of new buyers in the market, and people are saying, what's going on, what's happening, and are people buying houses right now? What's selling are new buyers that are coming into the market, getting pre-approved at the current interest rates. And so that's what's giving a little bit of a perk in the market. Now, I noticed in the first 2 weeks of July, the market was crawling. I'm going, oh boy, this is going to be a tough month. This is going to be a tough month. But especially in the last 10 days of July, I couldn't believe the spike of business that we did. It just went through the roof, and I was like, and I thought, I was sweating it. I go, boy, we're not going to hit our numbers that I was anticipating. So anyway, July ended up being a fairly decent month for real estate sales. And just in Niagara, I think the numbers in Niagara, total Niagara, that's including, Grimsby and all surrounding areas, 560 homes sold in the month of July. So it was good. And the last time, we've had higher numbers in previous months, but compared to last year, July of 2022, we only sold 415 last year in 2022.
Okay, so things are strong.
Things are strong. Things are moving. Interest rates are high a little bit. And I was just talking to a friend of mine. He's with BMO, and I said to him, I go, look, a lot of the mortgages on some of my properties are coming up, and it's at 7.2. Should I, lock in and do 3-year lock in? Or he goes, no, just hang on. So I'm gonna wait it out for probably another 6 months, maybe next year, and see if it drops, and then lock in for maybe 3 to 5 years, and just lock it in. I am paying higher interest on some of my investment properties. Obviously it's cutting into the profit margins, but that's what life's about. I still own the real estate. I still get rental income from it. Everything's getting paid, and it's moving along pretty good. That's everybody's mind right now. What do I do? Do I lock in? Do I wait? My one son, he locked in for 3 years about 2 months ago or a month ago. So, I mean, he just said, hey, I'm going to lock in. I'm not sure what he locked in at, what interest rate, but he did. But right now, because of the last interest rate hike in the beginning of July, that's what slowed things in the first couple of weeks, and then things kind of sped up after that. So.
Well, it's a good reminder, Rob, because you talk about that real estate life cycle. We're really, of course, caught up in of what the interest rates are now, but we see that inflation now has gotten into that target area that Bank of Canada keeps talking about. So the rates will come down at some point, and if you're looking at a home is somewhere you want to stay. You want to create roots, right? So it's many, many years of living. Or if you're looking at doing that investment property thing, as you said, so long as you can get that rental income, and the rental market continues to be strong because of all the reasons you just outlined there. You talked about people moving from the GTA, and you talked about some people aren't able to be able to get qualified for a mortgage. So I mean, as long as you can kind of get that expense covered, maybe you're going into a hole a little bit, but over the grand scheme of a life of owning real estate, it'll all come out on top.
Absolutely. I'm buying real estate. I've got a closing happening in September and another one happening in December. And I'm always buying investment properties. The interest rates, yeah, it's something you have to look at, but I'm not worried about it, and I don't think anybody should. The one thing I always say, and this is kind of, people know that I say this all the time, house prices double every 10 years. So if you're buying a house today, let's say you buy a house in Niagara, somewhere in St. Catharines, Niagara Falls for $600,000, $700,000. It will be double in 10 years. So think about, you bought this townhouse, and it could be $700,000, which is a pretty high number for a townhouse, let's just say, or a house. And think about, that house is going to be worth $1.4 to $1.5 million in 10 years. Hard to believe, but it will be. I remember when townhouses were like $100,000, $120,000, and nobody would believe these townhouses now are worth $500,000. And that's not that long ago. So, I mean, like, you'd be amazed, like, what values go up in 20 years. And I was just thinking about right now, if whatever real estate you own, and if you purchased it 10 years ago or 5 years ago, you've made money. But think about in 10 years from now what the value is going to be. And it just feels so good to know that you're going to have that. And that's how real estate's going. And the thing is, the appreciation values are going to be greater in the next 10 years than they were in the last 10, 20 years, just because of the fact of the shortage of homes, the crisis we have. We have a tremendous amount of homes that need to be built, and we got a big group of immigrants coming into this country every year, 500,000 for the next. We had 500,000 or 1 million that just came in the last couple of years, and we got another 500,000 coming this year, another 500,000 next year. Where are they going to live? And I mean, right now they're living. A bunch of them are living in hotels in Niagara Falls. So value, you don't have to worry about. And I'll tell you, I bought a real estate stock, and I'm glad I didn't buy that much. This is a story. I thought I bought a lot, and I put it into into a stock account. And I told the lady at this was at Scotiabank. I said, hey, put all this into that stock. But you only can buy so much at a time. So I bought about $150,000 of that stock, and I forgot about it. And she didn't put any more money into that stock. So for probably 18 months or more or less, I thought I put a lot more than the 150,000. So in my mind, I'm thinking I lost a lot of money, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, so do I make a decision? Do I make a decision on pulling it out and putting that into real estate, which I'll make it fast, but I'm going to take a loss, and I get that I'm going to take the loss, but so I went and talked to her and said, hey, listen, how much do I have? And she goes, Rob, I only put in the 150,000 in. I go, what? I couldn't believe it. I had newfound money that I thought I lost, but she didn't. She goes, I didn't put the whole amount that you asked me to. And I go, fantastic. I was like, I was jumping. I'm going, oh my God, I didn't lose as much as I thought I did. So now because of that, I'm just going to leave it, and because it wasn't the bigger amount that I thought I put in. So now I'm taking the rest of that money and putting into real estate. I will make up that loss on that 150,000 that I put in, and put it into real estate, and I'll make it faster and quicker on that than buying stock. The one thing is, there is no get rich quick scheme. There is nothing. Somebody comes with you a stock tip, say buy this. Do not do it. I've done it twice in my entire life, and both times were negative. It was bad, no good. There is no get rich quick. So the one thing is, I should stick to what I know and stick to what the history shows. And I buy real estate. I manage it myself. I'm in control, and that's how you win in the real estate game. Don't buy the stock. And anyway, but that is, I'm telling you, is something. Do not believe there is no get rich quick. I learned that lesson the hard way, but it didn't hurt me as bad as I thought it did. Thank God.
Yeah, well, yeah, and thankfully, yeah, you were able to take that loss and smile and keep on moving. Rob, you mentioned the benchmark and not the average. Can you give us, what's the difference between the benchmark and the average?
So the benchmark price is, what they do is they get they eliminate the high end homes. There could be a couple of like high end homes that in the average price, right? So let's say in a community, it could be like Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, or Welland. Let's say Welland, for instance. The average price, if you eliminate the low price and the high price, that's where you get your benchmark price. And what it does is it gives you more of an accurate price of what the of the price of average it is in that city. So it just eliminates something that could offset the average. Like if you go to a smaller town, like let's say Smithville, and if you go by average price, it could change dramatically every month, because if you get one high-end house that sells for $4 million, and meanwhile all the other houses sell for like $800,000, it's going to bring that average price up. So what it does is the computer analyzes it and eliminates that $4 million house and eliminates even the lower part, and then tries to give it a better number so that that you have a better understanding of what the price of homes are selling for averagely in that area. So for instance, and that's why we go by benchmark price. Benchmark price is the true number of what the price are going for in that area. So if you go by average price, it's always going to be higher than what the benchmark price is.
So it gives you that real idea of, okay, if I want to live in this area, this is about what it's going to cost me. I think we all did that math back in grade 9. You were taking me back, and I'm like, I remember we got rid of the low, we got rid of the high.
That's right.
And it gave us,
no extreme prices. No extreme prices.
All right. Well, that's great. No, we were just talking a little bit about Hamilton and about Niagara, but there are a couple of cities that are top searched spots for real estate in Canada, and Rob has those for us. He's going to tell us what they are coming up next. You're listening to the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara edition right here on News Talk 610 CKTB. All right, one down.
You got it.
Yeah. Always interesting to chat. So, yeah, we'll get into those and some of the other stuff there.
You got it.
Did you get that, Alex?
Yeah, just give me 1 sec. I'm going to save this real quick.
Make sure you save it.
Yep, I've made that mistake with a different show before.
Got to have that conversation all again.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of static on your back end.
Oh, you hear static?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're going to hear it after.
Can you hear it, Alex?
I do hear it, and it's just an issue with the computer pod in this studio. And
Okay.
Oh,
I
okay.
think what the issue is Rob, your volume's a lot lower than Steph's is for some reason. So when
Okay.
you're speaking, I have to pop the volume up, and that increases the static.
Can
Do you want me to drop my volume down?
Yeah, that might be good.
Okay, I'll try that.
Oh, that
Is
was
that better?
better. A little more?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it was your volume, Steph.
I'm too loud. That's something I've been accused of many times in my life.
That sounds good. That's more clear.
All right, perfect.
Okay, just saving right now, and then we'll be good to start the other one.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to say go, and you can do your countdown.
So, are you going to start off, Stephanie?
Yeah, unless you want to, Rob. Up
No,
to you.
no, you go ahead. Start off, and then
Okay.
we can start talking about the top two places.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, ready, and go.
In 3, 2, 1. And welcome back to the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara edition. I'm Steph Vivier, filling in for Tim Dennis, speaking with Rob Golfi. Rob, always a pleasure to chat with you and have this opportunity. Interesting stuff going on here in the region when it comes to real estate. And you were mentioning just before the break that things had really picked up in the last few days of July, but maybe not as hot as 2 other cities in real estate. Where are people looking to buy right now in Canada?
People are looking to. They're going to Calgary and Edmonton. Surprising, and you know what it is like. What's happening is the GTA is the main kind of hub that people move into. Canada, that's where they want to go, and that's where everything's happening, all the different cultures and ethnicity. But and then what happens is, for affordability, people were coming towards Hamilton, Niagara. They were going either to Kitchener, Waterloo, Guelph, or even Barrie, Ontario, all the way around the surrounding area. But now those areas are becoming expensive. So now people are jumping into different provinces and going to Calgary and Alberta. Now, if you work remotely, it doesn't matter where you live in Canada. You can work anywhere. But right now, for affordability, if somebody wants to own a house, going to Calgary or Edmonton is the way to go. And the one thing I find about that is I think Calgary is a beautiful city. I've been there a couple of times. It's nice and everything. I mean, I don't know the feel of it. I didn't live there, but it seemed like a beautiful place to visit and hang out, and the vibe was good. Edmonton, not sure. It might be a little cold. You get to see the Oilers play hockey. Maybe Wayne Gretzky might show up the one odd time. Who knows? But the one thing is, the one thing about Calgary is, and there's an influx of people going there, is that Calgary, their economy goes up and down a lot more than Ontario or any other province, just because of the oil. Like, I mean, everything, like, depending on the election in the U.S., like, you get one president says, yeah, let's put the pipeline in. You get another president come in, let's cancel that pipeline thing. So many things are happening, and it causes problems for the Canadian economy, especially in Alberta, because of the price of oil per barrel. But I do think, but a lot of people right now are crisscrossing across Canada more so than ever before. Most people, if they were born in Ontario, they pretty well stay pretty close to, I'd say, within an hour to 2 hours of their home where they were born. But now people are crisscrossing around anywhere in Canada. Now, Stephanie, were you born in Ontario?
I was, yeah. But this is an interesting story for me because we just had family visiting who live in Gibbons, which is just outside of Edmonton, and a couple of other family members who were born here in Ontario, lived in Edmonton, and have just come back to Ontario. And what you said about the difference in the economy really showed for them. And so they always joke that, whenever they're going to be selling their house is the wrong time, because they didn't, have that increase in home value. They were in their home home for, 18 years, and they basically sold it for what they bought it for. But there was a time in the middle, like you said, where they have these crazy swings in Alberta where they could have sold it for much, much more, but it came back way down. So it's really a different animal.
Oh, it is. But right now they're experiencing multiple offers. They're experiencing things they're not used to experiencing. So what happens is the first bunch of people that started moving out to the West Coast, Edmonton or Calgary, they're going to benefit. Now, if they move out now, they're going to benefit because they built some equity. But the people that are moving in now, it depends on what goes on. I personally, knowing what I know now in the real estate business, I do believe Calgary is a great place, but I don't think it's going to appreciate as strong as it would in the Golden Horseshoe, in the GTA as it is here. I know people are looking for affordability. A lot of people are moving on the East Coast. We've moved so many people to the East Coast, and especially during COVID, because of all these things that the government was implementing on nurses and different occupations, and some people didn't want to, go for their vax and everything. People were moving across Canada. They're saying, I'm moving to Calgary. I'm going to work there. So I couldn't believe how many people were moving out of the province. It was just like, it's not something you would see like usually in all the years that I've been doing this business. But in the last 3-4 years, especially COVID years, I'm moving to Calgary. I'm moving to East Coast. I'm moving there. Like, I couldn't believe it. But I do believe the people that do move away out of the province, they will be back. And they're going to get a little bit stuck behind the 8 ball because coming back, it's going to be too expensive for them. And it's like starting all over. Now, I know when I was in high school, and some guys that finished school, graduated, they were going out to the Edmonton or Calgary or the West Coast to work because they were paying a lot of money, and they were going to work out there for 2-3 years and make a ton of money and come back. I know friends of mine that did that, and they did do that, and they got apprenticeships, some of them. And I still think that's going on now because people go out there, they work 2 weeks straight, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks straight. There's all different programs out there for people. There's probably a shortage of labor out there, so they do need that. But they always come back. People always come back to their hometown or whatever, or close to their hometown. And I live 30 minutes. I grew up in Niagara Falls. I lived 30 minutes from my house that I grew up in, and I still live in Niagara. So I love it, and it's fantastic. But again, things are going aggressively good for the real estate market in the Edmonton, Calgary area.
Good points there, Rob, because that's kind of that's another conversation. A lot of the like Gen Z, young millennials in my family are talking about. They've been looking out east. They've been looking to move to another province. But what you said about the 30 minutes away, we want to be able to be, especially like as my parents are getting older, you want to be able to drive to them, to be close, and like that value of family really starts to set in. As you get a little older, fun to have an adventure when you're young and try something a little bit different. But again, if you can find a way to just invest where you're going to be long term, that might be the better answer.
Oh, absolutely. And also, you got the Gen Zs and millennials moving away, and guess who's following? The parents. So it depends how many kids they have. If they only have one child and that child moves out to Calgary, guess where they're going? The parents are going to go and follow the children, and hopefully the children have grandchildren, and so that they can be very close. And a lot of that's happening. So you're seeing, parents, just leaving, and basically these parents, they could be in their 50s, 60s, and they're uprooting and going someplace else, and they're leaving, maybe other family and friends that they've had lifetime with, and it's a big change. It's a big change. But that's another part of it that's driving the market up in those two areas.
Rob, you mentioned that you had helped, the Golfi team had helped some people, move to different provinces. How does that work? Because, of course, we know you from the Hamilton area. We know you from Niagara. Do you have associates that you help work? Obviously, you can help people sell homes here, but how would you help if someone wanted to make that change?
So what we would connect them with an experienced, knowledgeable realtor in the area that they want to go to, and we would give them, a couple of names and say, here, there's a couple of guys here, or a couple, girls, whatever, that you may want to interview to help you find a house in the area. And because obviously they're moving there, they don't know the city, they don't know, the good and the bad and the ugly of the city, and so we would connect them with that person. And they would just go there a couple of times and get a feel of the market, and get a feel of the agent, get a feel of everything, and make sure that we connect them with the right person. And we do that right across Canada. I've got a book of people that I've dealt with before, other agents that we refer to. I've got agents in Vancouver, all over Calgary, Nova Scotia, everywhere. So if anybody's looking to move into any province or city in Canada, I pretty well can connect them with the right person in that city. And I pretty well met every single one of these people that I usually refer to. I met them in person at different conferences and conventions and things like that.
Okay, so Rob Golfi and the Golfi team hooking us up, even if we're leaving, which would be sad because we want to keep you here in the Niagara region. And we're heading into a long weekend, or we're in a long weekend here, Rob. And one of the things we love to do is hit the cottage, right? Good to have some cottage friends. And there's been some big changes in terms of the prices of cottages. What's happening now?
Yeah, they're doing, like in Halliburton, prices fell 26%. And what it is during COVID, we were restricted in what we can do. If you had a pool in your backyard, you were fine. If you didn't, you either bought an RV or you bought a cottage or whatever. So cottage prices went up crazy. Between 30 and 40% of the waterfronts listed was purchased during COVID. That's what they're saying. So a lot of the properties now that people have cottages, so they're not cottage people that bought cottages. They didn't grow up probably having a cottage, or they just say, hey, let's buy a cottage. Let's do this thing. It's a lot of work, or there's, a lot of things that go on. You got 2 properties now you got to maintain. So people bought these. They've enjoyed them or whatever. And now a couple of things. Maybe they don't go up there enough. Or interest rates. Interest rates are an issue because now you got 2. If you got a mortgage on your house and a mortgage on the cottage, you've got a lot of expenses. You're paying out a lot of money on your out of your income. So some of them people will put on Airbnb. It just depends, but a lot of them are coming up for sale, and these are the people that actually ended up buying them through COVID. And what it's doing is, this is the medium to lower end cottages, not as much on the high end, not on the higher end cottages and the ones that are in the millions, but the medium to the lower end. And what it is people are unloading them, and it's driving the prices down on cottages. So you can get a good deal on a cottage this fall probably. So if you're looking for a cottage and you are a cottager, I would start looking up north, and you'll be in good shape for finding something at a decent price. And but yeah, cottages are dropping pretty crazy. So yeah, over here, Remax study reported that 59.9% price drop year over year for houses in the Kenora and Lake of Woods region. They were saying that, and Halliburton was 26%. So
wow.
Yeah, it's big. So cottage country is taking a big hit, and so just for the buyers out there, opportunity. For the people that are selling them, they're gonna it's gonna hit their pocketbook pretty hard.
Oh, yeah, they're going to feel that pain for sure. So, I don't know. Hold on, I guess, if you bought during the pandemic, and cross your fingers for another pandemic. They're the only people hoping for one.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Absolutely.
We are here with our good friend, Rob Golfi, and you're listening to the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara Edition. I'm Steph Vivier, sitting in for Tim Dennis. Still lots more to come on your real estate show, including why is a landlord moving into a van? We'll find out. That's all next here on News Talk 610 CKTV. All right, you get it, Alex?
I did.
All righty. Is the buzz better for you, Rob?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's all good.
Okay, perfect. Just my loud mic. It's going fast today.
Yeah, there you go. See, you're getting used to me.
We could talk all day, Rob.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited for this story about the real estate agent drinking milk out of a seller's fridge. That's funny.
Oh, I know. Crazy.
Okay, if you guys are ready, I will hit record and you can do the countdown.
Okay.
Sure thing.
And go.
In 3, 2, 1. And welcome back to the Golfi Real Estate Show, Niagara edition. I'm Steph Vivier in for Tim Dennis, and Rob Golfi is our guest, entertaining us and educating us about all you need to know real estate far and wide. We've talked cottages, we've talked Alberta, and now let's get into some of the more interesting real estate stories of the week. Rob, you always bring us some fun stuff from the headlines. Take us to Seattle now. Why is this landlord in a van?
So in Seattle, a small landlord fell victim to a deceptive tenant who pretended to be a low-income person, right? Thus avoiding rent payments. To make matters worse, the tenant started renting the property out on Airbnb. So further to exhilarating the landlord's financial struggles, facing the burden of unpaid rent and utility bills, the landlord was forced to move into a van. And challenging situation highlighted the difficulties faced by small landlords in areas with strong tenant protection. So in Seattle, the tenants are always right, apparently. So, and this is the problem. So you got this guy, and he took advantage of this small, ma-pa landlord, basically, and knows how to work the system. And this guy is paying the mortgage, all the bills on this house, while this other guy, the landlord's paying all that, while the tenant is just living for free and using the system for his benefit. Now, to me, I think morally this is wrong, but this is a big part of, I think, why we have homeless people. So, one, the ma-pa landlord, right? The one time they're the best landlords because you know why? They take care of things for the property, and they never increase rent. Usually, because what they do, these people, they will, if the tenant pays rent every month on time, they will not increase the rent. They just want the mortgage paid. That's it. They take care of things. But now you got this guy taking advantage and pushing this small time landlord into bankruptcy almost. And you know what? It's morally wrong. And another thing, this is why we have a big homeless problem. So if you think about this, so now people have been stung so much by tenants that landlords are only taking tenants that have a good credit score or whatever. So let's say if a tenant comes in, and I've taken tenants with a little bit of, little problems on their credit score, I'll take them and have them rent for me, and they're great tenants. But I'll tell you, tenants it's getting harder and harder for them to find a place. They're getting scrutinized because the landlord is worried about getting screwed. So now you're getting a guy that can't get a place to live and then eventually ends up on the street. And that's what's driving this thing is bad people taking advantage of good people, and then other good people end up being homeless because of bad people. Did that make sense the way I said that?
No, it's a really a crazy, infuriating story, Rob. And it makes me think, you said, in Seattle, basically the tenant's always right. And I know our system in Ontario here very heavily favors the tenant as well. Do you know, are people able to do this, to rent properties and then do the Airbnb thing? I know there was a legal story in Toronto where a tenant or a landlord rather was suing because someone had done this. Do we have protections in Ontario, or is it city to city?
Well, I think it's city to city if you can do it, but I think we need to put something in the lease agreement to say that they can't sublet it or Airbnb it out. And a lot of people were doing that in and around the area. I know Niagara Falls, they sent out a postcard saying, hey, You can't Airbnb your house anymore unless you're in certain commercial areas, and that's it. So and they're going to send out fines. But what happens is if a tenant rents your place out for, let's say, $2,000 a month, and now he wants to Airbnb it, he can probably make $4,000 or $5,000 a month on Airbnb and pay the $2,000. He ends up pocketing an extra $2,000-$3,000 for himself. But what happens is these Airbnbs, sometimes you get a lot of parties going on. You can get people getting hurt, and you don't have the proper insurance. I know Airbnb has an insurance of some sort, but if the homeowner, the landlord doesn't have proper insurance, he doesn't even know his house is being rented out Airbnb, there could be a situation there where he's liable on some things. And what are they going to say in court? Well, you should have known this. You should be watching your property, and that causes problems. But I thank God none of my properties are Airbnb'd. Maybe I don't know that. I better check it out. I better start visiting my tenants. I've got tenants that I haven't seen in 5 years. I've talked to them a couple times on the phone, and they send the rent, and and they're paying good rent, and they've been good, and I'm not complaining. And as long as I take care of them, they take care of me. And that's the way it is. But this guy in Seattle, this landlord, I feel sorry for him. And the city should be doing something about that. You know what I mean? Like, they're really hurting the small mom and pop landlord that wants just one investment property, for their nest egg for when they're in their retirement. And it's sad. I had one guy, we sold his house. He had somebody living in his house for 30 years. 30 years. They basically paid for his house, plus the appreciation of the value of the house went up. And then when that person moved out, so he tried to get another tenant. That tenant didn't work out. It did not work out. He didn't, and it caused problems. And then that's when he said, okay, I got to get rid of this. I don't want to do this anymore. And he sold the property. And he wasn't very good at picking the tenant. That I think that's what it was. I mean, it's always good to get.
Well, it is hard. We have a property that we rent out, Rob, and it is hard to find a good tenant. And you were mentioning earlier, like the mom and pop thing, right? It's like I got one rental property. I had a good tenant in there, and the rent increased, like the amount you could charge for rent, exponentially over the pandemic. But I just felt like we're just going to leave it like this, right? Because they pay the rent. They're not a problem. But what's your advice for that? Like, how do you properly screen and figure out who would be a good tenant?
Well, you do a credit check, and then you got to find out, where they're working. If they've jumped from job to job to job, I don't know if I would get them as a tenant. I would verify. Do not call the current landlord that they're living at, because the landlord's going to say, yeah, he's a great tenant. No, I sad to see him go, but he's a fantastic tenant. That landlord is giving him a 5-star rating just because of the fact he wants him out of his house. He's probably not paying. So do not trust the current landlord the tenant's in if they're using them as what do you call it? Reference, yeah. So, but do not use them. Use the previous landlord and the previous landlord to that. And if they seem to be moving around a lot, I probably wouldn't pick them. I would look at the place where they're working, how long they've been there. If it's a government job, fantastic. But yeah, you got to scrutinize. You have to scrutinize the tenants and find out where they're working, and hopefully they've been working there for a long time. I knock on wood, I haven't had any problems in the last bunch of years, but I remember when I first got into the business of renting out properties when I was in my early 20s, I've had some issues, and they were pretty hairy issues that I had going on. But I learned over the years to become better at it. I didn't give up. I stayed with it, and now it's running smooth. I'm a little better picking at tenants right now.
Yeah, live and learn, I guess, there. No, so not only, of course, Rob Golfi, are you a phenomenal agent yourself, you have the Golfi team. So you are regularly bringing on different agents who either have experience or you're mentoring them into becoming, great agents. So I wonder if you've ever had an issue where one of your agents did something like the agent in our next story.
Oh my God, yeah. So a real estate agent was fined $15,000 for drinking milk out of a carton from a seller's fridge. You know what? That's pretty bad. You know what? Come on. That's something that I don't know. Like you don't have to train for that. That's something you should know as a person, that not to invade somebody's refrigerator and just help yourself. And then we get people that we do open houses for, and the owner says, hey, listen, I have some water in the fridge if you want some. I have some, cookies or whatever of there I baked. They will instruct you, say, absolutely. Okay, perfect. If you're thirsty, you get the water, and then you basically tell me, hey, listen, I did have a bottle of water or whatever, or I did have a cookie when they after the open house. You can't do that kind of stuff, and there's so many stories of different things. And this was a person, I think in the U.S., but a Vancouver person did get in trouble. A real estate agent in Canada has been fined $20,000 Canadian, and that did a similar thing in Vancouver. And just ethics. People have cameras everywhere now, and that's how they found out about this. They must have had a camera in the house. I know a lot of people that have dogs and cats. They have cameras in the house just to see how their pets are doing while they're away at work. And you got the Ring doorbells that are in the front porch that as soon as you walk up, it notifies you that somebody's there. And it also records and videotapes you. You got to be very, very careful. I think it was very, very unethical of what this person did, and especially drinking right from the carton. And this was during COVID. This is like that. Ooh. That made it even worse. So it was during COVID. And then this guy also broke the armchair of the chair or of the sofa chair, and didn't tell anything to the owner, and he tried to put it back together so that maybe somebody else would sit on it and they would think that they did that. So definitely this agent needs to be fired right away, and you can't have that kind of stuff. So it's just it's terrible. It's like any industry. It was like,
oh man, you said, Rob, it was kind of like common sense, but like when you bring on a new agent onto the Golfi team, do you have like a little common sense spiel that you give them? Bring your own water with you. Don't be breaking anything. If you do, fess up. Absolutely.
We absolutely, you have to, people want honesty. I mean, you're sitting in someone's house, and you got to make sure you take care of it. The one thing I tell people, especially we're doing an open house, I says, when somebody walks in, you greet them, and then and show them around the house, and make sure you follow them. Don't just sit at the kitchen table and let them roam around the house on their own, because you don't know who these people are. You want to get to know them and see what they want. Your job is to sell that house, and get the information. The good thing is, it's always good to get information from that person so that you know that person was there at that house. You have a name, a phone number, in case anything can happen. Anything can happen in that property during that open house time, and at least you have a list of people that went through with their name and phone number on it, that in case you need to get a hold of people for witnesses of any sort, not saying it happens, but just in case you need to get back to people for some reason, besides following up to see how they like the house. But you never know, for safety reasons. You need that information.
Yeah, good advice there. We know none of the Golfi teams are going to be drinking milk or orange juice or anything like that right out of your fridge. Ring camera does it again. Rob, I can't believe our time is almost up. It always flies when we chat. Always enjoy chatting with you so much on the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara edition. But before we go, you've been giving us different tips and things so that if we do want to sell our homes, we can get the most value out of it and make it the easiest process. It can be a kind of a stressful one. So what tip do you have for us today? So
another mistake a lot of sellers make when selling their home is getting offended with a low offer. I get it. It's tough. When you get somebody coming in with a low offer, the first thing that the seller is thinking, I don't want to deal with this guy. Get rid of this guy. I don't even want to touch the offer. But a lot of times people put an offer in. They may come up to the price that you're asking, but they just want to see where you're at. Sometimes, we've seen times where people come in with a low offer and the seller accepts it. Like, whoa, like even the agent didn't even expect that. But then we've seen where we received low offers and we sign it back at the full price, and then the buyer accepts it. They just want to see where the gauge is in your mind of price. So it's always good to sign back. So there's a couple of things I always say when we get an offer. There's three things you can say. You can accept it, which we're not. We can counter it, yes, or we can respectfully reject it. And so a lot of times I always try to counter it, and then if that counter doesn't go anywhere, then that's when we drop it. That's when we stop it. But you'd be surprised how much the buyer will come up to your price as a seller when they come in with a low offer. I mean, like once you do the sign back, then you say, okay, this guy's a serious buyer, but he just wanted to see where we were sitting at.
Of course, who doesn't want a deal?
Absolutely.
We love getting deals and all of the best advice onto how to get the most out of your home or the best deal when you want to buy with Rob Golfi. You can get an instant home estimate at golfihomevalue.com. And if you are looking to sell or you're in the market to buy, make sure you call the #1 RE/MAX team in Canada, the Golfi Team, 905-641-0308, robgolfi.com, Rob, GOLFI.com. And you can always check him out here on the Golfi Real Estate Show, Niagara edition. I'm Steph. I've been filling in for Tim. And Rob, always a pleasure. I've learned so much, and I can't wait. Tim's off for one more week, so we'll get to chat again next weekend.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie.